Welcome to Not the Andrew Marr Show. We've kind of changed the whole format today because of what's been going on in the past week. As you know, a week is a long time in politics, and doesn't that actually come out with what's happened this week? Now, I'm going to just go through what's happened in the past week, and then we're going to bring on people to speak about it. So firstly, I just want to say this is the motion that the NEC discussed on Tuesday. It only was released on Monday, so it came after last week's show. This meeting of the NEC notes the Labour Party's purpose is to organise and maintain in Parliament in the country a political Labour Party. It goes on to say that the Labour Party has not secured a parliamentary majority in the House of Commons since 2005. In the 2019 general election, led by Right Honourable Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour Party returned 202 MPs to Parliament, being the lowest number of Labour MPs returned since the 1935 general election. And Mr Corbyn is currently a member of the Labour Party and an independent MP for Islington North. And the Labour Party standing with the electorate in this country and its electoral prospects in seats, it is required to win in order to secure a parliamentary majority and or win the next general election. These are both, it's a long clause, but they're both significantly diminished should Mr Corbyn be endorsed by the Labour Party as one of its candidates for the next general election. In order to effect the NEC's primary purpose to maximise the Labour Party's prospects of winning the next general election, these are not well served by Mr Corbyn running as a Labour Party candidate, and it is not in the best interest of the Labour Party for it to endorse Mr Corbyn as a Labour Party candidate in the next general election. Accordingly, this meeting resolves that Mr Corbyn will not be endorsed by the NEC as a candidate on behalf of the Labour Party in the next general election. General Secretary, write to Mr Corbyn immediately after this meeting to advise him of the above, and Mr Corbyn remains a member of the Labour Party and, save as set out above, his rights to attend Labour Party meetings and voting rights afforded under the Labour Party rulebook remain unchanged. As you can see from that, there's no mention of anti-Semitism. Oh, this is proposed, by the way, by Keir Starmer himself, seconded by Shabana Mahmood, which is incredible. I think that the leader of the Labour Party is proposing it. It's totally unprecedented, never been done before, proposed by the leader, no mention of anti-Semitism at all. And this is what we got after that from a number of Labour MPs doing the media rounds to explain what had happened. And at the end of this clip of Labour MPs, you're going to see a clip of Jeremy Corbyn. So I'm just going to play this clip for you.
So I'm not privy to exactly what goes on in the National Executive, but I don't think there's any mystery, Michelle, about the background to today's discussion at the National Executive Committee. It's about one thing, which is about Jeremy Corbyn's reaction to the EHRC report on anti-Semitism and his refusal to apologise for that reaction. That is the background to this. I don't think there's any mystery about that. Keir Starmer said some weeks ago that he didn't believe Jeremy Corbyn should be a candidate at the election, and that is obviously a decision the National Executive will have to make.
Jeremy Corbyn, who obviously won't be a candidate for Labour at the next general election, are you pleased about that?
Well, Keir Starmer has made clear that all candidates for the Labour Party have to abide by the right standards. Particularly that means on tackling anti-Semitism, which, as you'll recall, there was a very damning report on the Labour Party on anti-Semitism by the Equality Commission, found us in breach of the law in terms of what had happened before 2019. Keir Starmer has made very clear that that has to change and everybody has to abide by the new standards. And it is right that we show how the party has changed since 2019. And I think Keir Starmer has rightly turned that around.
I just think, given Jeremy Corbyn's response to the Equality and Human Rights Commission report into anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, failure to apologise, failure to
But that's not why he was thrown out. The motion was all about the motion simply said he was damaging the party. It didn't mention anti-Semitism.
Jeremy Corbyn's made his own bed and now he's lying in it because he didn't apologise, wouldn't take responsibility. When he was sat in this chair on your programme, he still refused to take responsibility.
Wes Streeting, as always,
Thanks Andy.
I do need to ask you before I let you go about another Labour leader, because last week Labour's governing body approved your motion to block Jeremy Corbyn from standing as a Labour candidate. He described it as a shameful attack on democracy. I don't want to ask you, did you feel bad about it? Because back in April 2020, you described Jeremy Corbyn as your friend, and now you've kicked him out. Do you feel bad?
There's one person who is responsible for the fact that Jeremy Corbyn will not be a Labour candidate at the next election, and that's Jeremy Corbyn. And the first words I said as Labour leader was that I would root out anti-Semitism in my party. And I've been absolutely ruthless in that. There's always more work to do, but I set out to change the Labour Party and to change it in relation to anti-Semitism. Okay. And I said I'd root it out, and I am delivering on that pledge.
You're prepared to be ruthless to win?
I'm prepared to be ruthless to ensure that we have a Labour government. I have been ruthless in the change in the Labour Party. I do not apologise for that.
There was no process of natural justice. I was not invited to make a statement or to attend. I was informed by text message yesterday morning that a motion was being placed by the leader of the party, and 5 minutes later that was all over social media. So I've been treated with unbelievable levels of disrespect. But it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about members of the Labour Party, people who've given their lives to our party to try and bring about decency and social justice in our society, being treated with utter contempt by the National Executive and their vote today.
I'm joined by Jackie Walker and John Dunn. Now, I couldn't get over what I was watching for the beginning of the week, and it just kept, all these interviews kept coming out. They kept saying it was about anti-Semitism when the motion doesn't say that. What do you make of all those Labour MPs? I mean, Jackie, what do you think of like Ed Miliband? I mean, I thought that was pretty shocking.
You see, I'm past being shocked on this, because anybody who's in Starmer's cabinet is going to parrot this nonsense because, you know, A, some of them endorse it, and B, the others who perhaps have any worries about it are much more interested in keeping their post. But of course, the thing about Ed Miliband is pretty bad because, you know, he you know, Gordon Brown, Kinnock, they also lost. Is that what we're going to do to every leader who loses? Are we going to kick them out? But you know, the point is, he didn't get deselected in this way because he lost. We all know why he did. And the fact that they didn't actually put it in that motion is because they knew that they would have their arses sued if they did it, because it couldn't be proved that he didn't support and, you know, affirm the findings of the EHRC.
Yeah. And John, do you just think, you know, it like people are saying, it's massive gaslighting going on here about anti-Semitism. We know they just want him out for any reason. I mean, why is that the worst thing about it? This kind of bullshitting we have to, sorry to swear, but we have to put up with this kind of thing.
Well, I'm not surprised that they're telling such lies. I actually wish you had not had to watch them things, because I'm struggling to hold my breakfast down now, having seen such shitbag scum at this time in the morning. But, you know, the only thing that surprises me about him is that it's took him so long to do it. You know, this isn't, Corbyn's right. It's not about him. It's an attack upon the left. And everybody who's on this show, watching this show, who supports the whole idea of a different society, is you're in the crosshairs as well. You know, this is a salami tactic. You know, first they came for, then they came for. And the people who were sitting quietly by and just occasionally getting together to plot a meaningless resolution that'll get ignored, get out. Stop giving these charlatans your money. I made the mistake under that war criminal Blair of staying and fighting. I have along with Blair, the blood of 1 million Iraqis on my hands, because by being a member, even though I oppose the slaughter, even though I oppose the aftermath, by being a member, I de facto endorse this. So we know after Corbyn, it's the rest of you. While they're doing that, while they're culling you, they're busy taking us to the brink of nuclear Armageddon. Rachel Reeves is preparing to continue attacks that are even worse than the ones we've got. This is what you're propping up. The movement's alive and well. Let's get active. And if you really want to oppose these people, then start disrupting some of their events. You know, do an Audrey White. If you, rather than sitting in a meeting and sitting on your hands and keeping your lips sewn together because you don't want to be expelled, you want to stay and compete in some meaningless, dribbly fight, get out, get real, tip a few tables over and show them you mean business.
Right, now look, we've got a lot to go through. I want to show you a response from the group that is behind Jeremy, was set up to support Jeremy Corbyn after he won the leadership election in 2015. I'm talking about Momentum. Now, I've written to every member of Momentum's national coordinating group. I've WhatsApped a couple of them, three of them. I've had no one come back to me. This is what Momentum's response was to what happened with Jeremy. And I want what you think about this. I mean, this is the first tweet they put. The call to leave Labour is a siren call of despair. It has no political project, no proposition or alternative, no ask beyond ceding capacity and space. Its only effect is to weaken the Labour left and the survival of socialism within the public sphere. Under first past the post and with Labour's historic trade union link, there is no viable prospect of another political party, and Labour membership is no barrier to trade union, migrant rights or other political organising. In fact, Unison, the left of Unison shows that they go together. The onslaught of the right and its impacts are well known. We are clear that there is limited room for advancement currently. We should ask ourselves less, what is the current master strategy for socialism, and more, how can we best defend what we have and build for the future? Momentum is working to consolidate our power bases. We're using our public voice loudly for socialism. We're working for socialist campaign group MPs and supporting the left in unison. Would we as a left be in a better position if all that disappeared? Would its destruction herald a new era? No. Right, so what do you think so far, John? Do you think this is that Momentum is sticking up for Corbyn in this one?
Oh, no. I mean, they're too cowardly even to come and speak on their own behalf on the show. Momentum are an obstacle now. They're a problem. You know, I know they're supposed to have been reinvigorated, etc., etc. But this is, you know, it's so watered down. It's so absolutely useless. Then, you know, what are they doing? What are they doing in the Labour Party to organise a fight back? It's all right making statements. Yeah.
Well, I'll read a bit more. I know it's. I wanted to split it up because it's quite painful. But I want people to see this is Momentum's response. Thanks to our mass membership, Momentum can skill up socialist councillor candidates and help them get selected and elected, train up socialist organisers, make socialist arguments to millions online and in the public sphere. What is achieved by destroying these things? And for social movements, allies within the state are always needed. If you're in a renters' union, left-wing councillors can pass motions for landlord registers or respond to pressure. It's vital. From Haringey to Oxford, socialists in local government proving the point. If your focus is on worker organising, then the key is repealing anti-union legislation. Labour is committed to repealing significant pieces of it because of the socialist campaign group Andy MacDonald. In the past few days, SCG MPs have led the opposition to the Tories' illegal immigration bill, continued campaigning for justice for Chris Cabba, joined picket lines and anti-racist demos, boosting their reach. If they were gone, would we be better off? Jackie, they asked the question, if the SCG were gone, would we be better off?
I don't know, we might be. I'm not quite sure about that. But I mean, the thing here is that Momentum are giving you an actual false dichotomy. What they're saying is you can either stay in Labour or you can be useless. And that's actually not quite how it is. And they're also proposing that somehow the SCG are being pivotal. Now, this is just parroting John McDonnell's failing line. You know what he proposed was that there should be a campaign from CLPs to keep Jeremy in. 2 days later, the General Secretary sent round something to say we shouldn't have conversations about it. I mean, there is another way that this could happen, which is that there are members of the SCG who are extremely high profile, who actually would have a pretty good idea that they would remain as MPs, even if they were deselected. For example, Diane Abbott. If Diane Abbott came out now and said something which made it clear that she wasn't going along with this, and she was deselected, there were a number of things that would happen. One, there would be a huge amount of media interest because of who she is as the first woman Black MP. And the second thing would happen is that the Black voters who disproportionately get a Labour elected, particularly in the inner city areas, would sit up and listen to what's going on. And I think she would still get in. I mean, the problem is the SCG are not thinking strategically in any way about this. So this is a false dichotomy, which actually believes that you've got one way or another way. I think we should combine that kind of strategy with the guerrilla tactics of John Dunn, where he's proposing that people go along to all their election meetings and actually ask difficult questions and actually repeatedly do that.
Right, I'll just finish because this is quite. I think it's quite amusing in a way, because you can see they've got 12 retweets on the last tweet there. We understand that right now many socialists feel despair. That's what Keir Starmer and his anti-democratic cabal want, but the politics of nihilism brings us nowhere. Our focus should always be on building socialist institutions and organisations. 12 retweets. They've got hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. From young Labour and Labour students to local government, Momentum is focused on consolidating our bases, and our training programmes are building up the socialist organisers and leaders of the future. We are doing the hard yards. So if you support us, if you believe in our grassroots organising for a socialist future, and if you want to be part of the socialist, join Momentum today. So the links for Momentum are on their Twitter feed if you want to join them today.